Welcome to 90210 Universe, a podcast dedicated to showcasing unique, creative, and diverse humans who are making their mark by living their legacies. Visionaries who took and take action daily. We all have a story. Here, we share ours to inspire, move, and empower others. It's okay to face challenges as we all journey through survival, thriving, and succeed in life. So join us as we spotlight rock stars who navigate the roller coasters of life and use their uniqueness to show that if they can do it, so can you.
Well, hello and welcome to the 90210 Universe podcast, where we dive into the inspiring stories of incredible individuals from our community. We share their journeys of success and resilience. And my name is Michelle Wilson, and I'll be your host for today. I'll be guiding you through today's episode, and we are so thrilled to have you here. And we also want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, 90210 Enterprise, which is a premier platform dedicated to global connections, innovative solutions, and helping small business owners and entrepreneurs grow in their legacy. So let's jump right into today's episode. I'm excited to introduce our guest, Jeff Whittle. Jeff's journey is inspiring. And he's actually comes from a very humble beginning. He grew up in a small farm in Iowa where he learned the values of hard work and self-reliance. And his passion in radio took him across the country from DJ to sports and news reporter. And now he's in the LA area. And we're really excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I'm glad to be here. This is awesome. Thanks.
I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, Jeff, because as I stated in your short bio, that you started off in radio and now you are actually in fitness. You work with adults, especially adult women or mature adults over 50 to help them improve in their strength. But take me back to your radio days and kind of that journey and how you ended up becoming a certified fitness professional.
A lot of folks that knew me early on are like, what? You're now a fitness trainer? That's crazy. So as you said, I grew up on a small farm in Iowa. We actually lived in the city till I was 9 and then moved out to the farm. And when I was in the city, kids that my age, classmates lived a couple of doors down and on the next block and all around. So we'd get in the local park and play baseball and things. But total different lifestyle when I moved out to the farm. Of course, a lot of chores to do, taking care of mainly the animals. And we did grow some crops as well. But part of the lifestyle change was that my nearest friend was like almost a mile away. And the next nearest friend was the other direction, maybe even a little bit farther. So there was no like hanging out with kids my age after school. We got on the school bus when school ended and rode for about an hour till it dropped us off at our farm. And then it was, doing chores and things. And I don't have any brothers. I have 3 younger sisters. So I was kind of stranded, in a sense, at least, culturally or, among friend-wise, I should say. So there wasn't kids to pick up baseball with and things like that. So there was a lot of time alone. Reading was huge for me. We had World Book Encyclopedia, 1970, and they had the Childcraft annuals, which were like the books, and they had stories, and I read every one of them, like cover to cover, and I even read most of the encyclopedias cover to cover, just because I loved information, knowledge. My parents were big on promoting that. But besides reading, I would listen to the radio because the radio would reach out to the farm, and I really liked music. I had taken piano lessons and even some guitar lessons in grade school, but really liked music, and the radio fascinated me. that was about the time in the mid 70s when CB radios became big, citizen band radios. So I got one, and it was like, oh my gosh, I can talk to somebody like miles away by just pushing the button. Now, of course, we had telephones, but that was less cool or fun, and exciting. So, especially if you were like in the car driving around, it was before cell phones by 30 years or 40 years. So it was like, wow, I can talk to other people on the road, or I can talk to my parents at home while I'm driving around, or vice versa. So just the whole idea, maybe CB was really kind of the thing that got me interested in being on the radio, where I loved the radio. And there would be like, the Casey Kasem countdown on Sundays, and I listened to country music as well, and they had a country countdown. So I got into where I would write down the songs, what were like the order that they were counting them off. I was so into it every week, and I'd keep like a list. Oh, wow, this song's the new number one. Is it going to stay number one, or is it going to fall next week? So I just like had this fascination. So and my dad and I had been a public speaker. I went to Catholic school, and whenever there'd be a speech contest, the nuns would like volunteer me that I was going to be in the speech contest, especially if it was against other schools, because they knew from reading class and English class that I could read really well, and spoke pretty well compared to at least the other kids. So my dad was like, if you can make a living with your voice instead of with your back and hard work, both my parents encouraged me. But I remember Dad saying, if you could make a living by talking, that would be a great career move for you. So in high school, fall of my senior year, I actually I went to college to check out colleges between my junior and senior year. And they were like, to look at schools to go to learn radio. And they're like, if you can get some experience even in high school yet, that would be really awesome, and that would get you ahead, because there's no guarantee you can be on the radio, even just because you're a radio major. So I went to all the local radio stations, and they were turning me away and turning me away. I'm a high school kid, I'm not even in senior year yet. And somebody recommended a radio station that had just started. It was nonprofit, little tiny, kind of like a college station, but it wasn't affiliated with the college. They took volunteer DJs. And I got hired, and I was only fall of my senior year in high school. And so you would make tapes of you being on the radio, and then that's how that's your resume for other radio stations. So I used my demo tape, or air check as they call them, to get hired at the number one station in town while I was still in high school. Of course, it was overnights on the weekends, but I was thrilled to be able to do that. And then I worked through college, and I went to college, was on the campus station, but I would always get hired at a big commercial station on the weekends, and then be a campus DJ during the week. And then, of course, took my classes. So by the time I graduated, I had quite a bit of experience already. And basically 6 months after I graduated from University of Iowa, moved to Los Angeles to be on the radio. Because just, for anything entertainment, acting, or whatever, you got to move to the big city, and either New York or LA is where you're going to make the money, the most stations, the most opportunity. And that's what I did. So, started weekends, started actually on a station where I wasn't even on the air. I was a producer, and I helped make commercials and stuff, and then got my way on foot in the door to be weekends, and then work my way up to full time. And that's really how it just blossomed. And I lived radio, and was a DJ, top 40 rock and roll, until maybe the late 90s. Mm-hmm. So I was probably late 30s. And then it was harder to get a DJ job. And one of my stations, I started doing, as part of being a DJ, I was the morning DJ. They needed me to do sports as well, because they had sold a sponsorship package. They're like, you have to do your own sports. So I started doing that. Well, when that radio station changed formats, from rock and roll to easy listening, and all the DJs got fired, including me, which happened a lot on music stations when they changed formats. I was able to take my air check of sports and get hired at a news station to do their sports on the weekend, their sports reports. And it was a lot easier to get a job and stay employed doing sports. And then that morphed into news and traffic reporting. So the first half was DJ. Second 20 years was information, sports news, and DJ. So that's kind of how that all evolved. It wasn't nearly as fun doing the news and traffic and even sports as it was to be a DJ. I mean, that was the most fun, but it kept me on radio. It helped me buy a house and keep my mortgage paid. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of how it all went down.
And I could definitely hear your radio voice. So was that trained or was that just a natural ability, like you said, that your dad kind of recognized and just encouraged you to take those steps forward? Because I do hear that radio voice in you. So were the classes you took or that was just a natural ability? I'm just kind of curious.
I never really learned it in classes. And
Mhm.
when I hear old air checks of me back in the early days, I didn't have a voice that sounded anything like this. Of course, I was still in high school when I first went on. So a big part of it is the vocal cords are a muscle. So as I got older and was on the radio more and talked more and more, the voice just kind of deepened, got a little richer. You would hear yourself back either through your through your headphones and by listening to your tapes back. So you kind of learn to critique, okay, here's how I sound better. And I had a lot of people, bosses and other DJs that I really respected, you would play your air check for them and say, what do you think? And I remember probably one of the most influential was a guy that says, you're turning your words up at the end of the sentence so you sound unsure. So I would be talking like this, and I would turn the end of my sentences up. And he's like, no, turn the inflection down, like you know what you're talking about. So you sound confident. So the words are turned kind of down. It makes your voice sound less high because when you turn the words up, then you sound younger. And now maybe I want to sound younger. But anyway, then it really helped me. And he's like, think about your inflection, how you say words, and don't try to sound like you're talking on the radio like a lot of people do. And they're
Right.
trying to put an affected voice on. They're like, just be natural. It'll sound better. It doesn't sound nearly as hokey, even if your voice quality sounding natural isn't as great as you want it to be. It just sounds more natural and it's more pleasant for the listeners. Nowadays they don't really want a deep voice on the radio. It doesn't sound natural. They prefer somebody that sounds like the person next door. So now my voice is almost a disadvantage in some respects. Not doing news necessarily, but for like a DJ, that was one reason they didn't want me anymore, is I sounded like an old fuddy-duddy that should be on an oldies radio station because I had one of those types of voices. So, it's funny how tastes and styles changed over since the 70s when I started to the 2000s and the 2020.
And now we're gonna kind of transition, but we're gonna be taking a break shortly. But I just want to, like in the next minute or so, just you've been in radio for so long and then you change industries. What happened for you to go from, the radio entertainment into fitness? I'm really curious about that story. So as I said, we're going to take a break in a minute, but I just want you to kind of transition there and tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, being a rock and roll DJ, you're sitting a lot in the studio and the kind of the rock and roll lifestyle. I was, drinking too much beer and eating too much pizza. And I was, staying up late and I was not getting any exercise. So I had gained, but when I turned 40, I'd gained about 30 pounds. So my wife and I decided to join a gym and to get in shape. And that's when it all started. Met a trainer who turned out to be from Iowa as well, University of Iowa, like me. He was a former NFL player. We hit it off really well, and I started training and started to get in shape.
Okay, well, hold that thought right there because I want to hear about that journey about you and your wife and getting in shape and then transitioning to being a certified coach. So, we were going to take a short break now so that we can bring to you one of our valued sponsors. And be sure to check out our sponsors while we will be right back at the 90210 Universe and our guest with Jeff Whittle.
Welcome to 90210 Enterprise, where your dreams take flight. Join an exclusive community of over 20,000 professionals, unlocking access to world-class business consulting and powerful networking opportunities, with expertise spanning 12 specialized sectors, including network, business and ventures, real estate, finance, and more. Choose from our tailored access plans, corporate access and executive access. Unlock exclusive benefits of corporate and executive access, including a 30-minute orientation with Dr. Natalie Forrest, Executive Director of 90210 and President of the Media Vertical, and a 45-minute consultation with Ashkan Tabibnia, Founder and CEO of 90210 Enterprise for Corporate Access members. Executive Access members receive a 30-minute consultation. As a member, you enjoy access to special opportunities to expand your reach, participate, and collaborate with our partners, such as Vire and Depeche, and have your message be shared globally. Are you ready to turn your dreams into reality? Join us today and experience the difference. Contact us at 90210enterprise@gmail.com.
Okay, well, welcome back to 90210 Universe, where we showcase unique, creative, and diverse humans. And we are with Jeff Whittle. We've been listening to his story about how he was a DJ, a sports announcer, a news broadcaster on the radio for several years, and then recently has changed careers, industries, actually became an entrepreneur. And we're going to learn about his story, how he transitioned. But you were sharing with us right before our break about you and your wife. You said as a DJ, you sat and you just gained weight. And that's how you really got inspired because of your own health journey. So you can share a little bit more about that journey, about what you and your wife did.
Sure. So y- I had joined a gym for a little while back in my late 20s or something because I knew I needed to get in shape then, but I didn't have a trainer or anything. And so I didn't really see much progress. And then I moved, I was in San Diego at the time. I moved back to LA, so I let all that go. My friend was a trainer, had worked at a gym, and he was really fit. So that's why I did it that time. But then when he wasn't around, I didn't have any motivation or enough knowledge. So then when we joined the gym at 40 and I started to get in shape, I really liked the challenge of being able to go in there and work hard and push myself. You know, I was like competing against myself to get stronger. Oh, I did this many reps with this much weight. I can do a few more with a little more weight today. And, you know, just kind of, so I just really enjoyed the challenge and how it made me feel mentally and physically. You know, I knew I was, you know, getting much stronger and getting leaner. I started watching my diet a little bit, mainly through the weight training and strength training and some cardio. So I would work out with Austin and the trainer, and he would like, okay, today we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And I would kind of repeat things. Oh, so we're doing this. And he'd be like, yeah, you remembered. And I'm like, yeah, all the stuff you're telling me is really interesting, you know? So all of a sudden that was kind of sparking. So at the time I thought, gosh, maybe I should get certified just so I had the knowledge for myself. But then with the radio job, like I changed jobs, I changed hours. I was working early morning or late at night. So then my lifestyle got kind of out of whack. I stopped going, was going to the gym less and less, started eating bad again, gained all the weight back in like 2012, 13, 2014. So 10 years ago. In Austin, I had moved away. He had moved away and stuff. And I'm like, uh-oh, I got really out of shape again. I thought I had it and I didn't have it. You know, I kind of lost my way. So I looked him up again, started driving to see him and work out again. And then this time I was serious. While I was training with him, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start studying to get my certification, which I did. And I got even in better shape than I did the first time. And got certified in 2015, and I just trained a few people part-time. And I always knew, because now I was in my mid-50s, these young people didn't really want to train with me. And I didn't see working with young people for strength, you know, bench pressing 300 pounds and stuff. I didn't feel I could do that. I didn't want to, you know, I hadn't gone through that journey. I was more of a middle-aged, you know, so I thought maybe I'd help other folks my age get stronger and do it that way. I felt more comfortable with the idea, and also thought it has a bigger impact on their lives to help people that are in their 60s and 70s. And I do have a few people that are younger than that I train. And now even in their 80s, I train. And we train for strength, certainly. Also balance. A big thing I do, especially with older women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, is they're always like, oh, my balance is terrible. I've fallen a few times. So we do leg strengthening and stepping exercises. So we're like doing crossover foot patterns and heel to toe walks and stand on one leg and things like that, just so they're more stable on their feet, less likely to fall and hurt themselves. 32,000 seniors die in falls every year in the United States. So, I mean, it's a dangerous thing. And then the third thing now, I just got certified this year as a brain health trainer. So we can work on cognition, maybe fight dementia, help memory loss, things like that through exercise with cognitive drills, word and memory, word lists for memory, some math problems, some other types of cognitive drills while they're exercising to strengthen the brain. At the same time, we're strengthening the body. So that's what I started doing part-time. And then when I lost my radio job in COVID and we were moving from Los Angeles back to San Diego, where my wife was from, and really wanted to move home. And since we weren't on the radio, we're like, well, we don't have to be in LA if we're not in the radio, and we're just down the road. And I'd already lived here 2 times previous, including when I met her the first time. I just went to training full time when I moved back to San Diego in 2021. So I've been full time only for a couple of years. But now it's a whole new thing. Besides training, as you mentioned, now I'm an entrepreneur. When I was on radio for 40 years, I worked for someone else. I never had to worry about marketing, accounting, any of that, networking, any of that kind of stuff, really. I should have done some networking and things when I was in radio, but I didn't know what I didn't know, and now I do. So it's been a whole new journey, really.
Now tell me, I mean, I'm really interested because you said you're working with especially women over 50, and you were talking about the brain, the cognitive, and then also the balance, and how those two go together, and how did you connect those two together? And if you could just even share a story of maybe one of your, clients that you have that you were able to really transform your lives. I know you have sent me a couple of testimonies. So I would love to hear one of those stories of how you helped.
Sure.
Yeah.
So working with seniors, really, a lot of the times when we start working with older ladies, they're like, well, I don't want to get too bulky and too muscular, and I'm like, don't worry. When you start getting too muscular, we'll just back off the training, okay? But that's not going to happen unless you're training, several hours a day and, eating the right, like you're doing like a bodybuilder. I mean, that's a full-time job. And strength training for an hour twice a week is not going to get you bulky, but it will make a difference, in your body and your body composition. And balance was a thing that I always heard from. And when you were working with seniors, it's kind of like you want to do some component of balance training, because that's the number one complaint of the ladies I work with. And even some of the guys are like, I just feel so unstable on my feet. Walking over a broken sidewalk, or even walking across the lawn because the grass isn't perfectly even, like AstroTurf with a solid base underneath. So do that. And then the cognition, that just kind of happened because I have a client that has been diagnosed with some cognitive decline. It's not dementia, it's not Alzheimer's, and it may never get there, but maybe it could go there. So she was really worried about that. So I got a certification for the brain health training through the Neuroscience Institute, Pacific Neuroscience Institute in Santa Monica, and that's what they do. And doctors that work with Alzheimer's and dementia patients, they actually will talk about this institute and their certification, that it's been proven to maybe slow decline, reverse perhaps some cognitive decline in either processing speed or executive function or memory or attention span, the 4 main ones, and somebody may be deficient in one and not the other. And then when I worked in a couple of commercial gyms or big box gyms as a trainer on staff, they learned that if somebody was older, they would just put them on my schedule because they knew I was older and they would feel more confident working with me, more comfortable. I was a little more patient. I knew what was maybe more appropriate for older folks. The younger trainers tend to work the older people a little too hard. And you can work them hard, but you have to know where they are and work them hard within certain parameters and not just more weight, maybe something more challenging. So, and people with injuries, I got, they put on my schedule. So I started working with people, especially if they had like mobility problems, they walked poorly. I work with a lady that has braces on both legs because of an issue with her legs. She could barely stand when we first started working, and she fell a lot. She had trouble walking. And another lady I have, when she would go down the hall, she would like hold on to the walls. So we did a lot of stepping exercises as well as leg strengthening. So you need the coordination and the strength. And neither of them have to hold on to the wall anymore. Their falls, occasionally they still fall, but it's way rare. Instead of like multiple times a week, now it might be once every couple of months or something like that. They say it's a huge difference in their quality of life. One lady, her doctor told her to get rid of her walker. Before they told her she had to use it. Now they told her to get rid of it because she walks better without the walker. So that's a huge thing with, in her life, confidence as well as quality of life. So that's one reason I really enjoy working with older folks as opposed to younger people that just want to get buff, where it's not a quality of life thing. It's more of a ego thing, an aesthetic thing with them as opposed to making their life better. The lady with the leg braces, believe it or not, she says, I can vacuum for the first time in like 20 years since I started to have this leg problem because the going forward and back would throw her off balance so much. So you don't even think little things like that. And it's made her life better as well. And there's other examples, but those are two of the bigger, cases that I really notice, it can have seen the most improvement.
When someone's working with you in the situation, I know each individual is different, but what's like, when you're working with someone, how many days a week, and then how often are you working with them that you see an improvement in their lives?
I have seen an improvement, and they have noticed an improvement in their second session, believe it or not. In fact, I just started working with a new lady. Her doctor sent her to me because she's older and has balance and a couple of other issues and needed to lose some weight because she was kind of on the diabetic edge. And I had met this doctor and showed her what I did, and I've worked with a few of her others. She's like, you need to go see Jeff. And she just told me last week on like our third session, when she showed up for her third session, she goes, I can already tell that I'm stronger and more stable on my feet. And she was even down a couple of pounds. Some of it's just her motivation now to eat better because she's working with me. When you work hard, you're like, okay, I don't want to eat this bad food because I know how hard it is to burn those calories. Weight loss isn't my major thing, but it's certainly, most people want to lose a few pounds. Everybody wants to lose a few pounds. So that's kind of built in. And I do have a weight management certification as well. But second, and that just happened again last week where she told me that quickly. So I usually work with people, I suggest twice a week. I work with one lady 4 times a week. It's a budgetary thing. Can they afford, 4 sessions a week of personal training? It's not inexpensive. And some people work with me and they're like, well, I'll just give it a try. And now I've had them for years.
Right.
Or they've come to me because of an injury. Oh, I had my knee replaced. I need to get stronger. My insurance sessions with my physical therapist ran out. I just want to keep getting stronger. Once the knee's rehabbed, and they're maybe late 60s or early 70s, and they're like, I see I need to just keep doing this because if I just go home and sit back on the sofa, I'm going to lose everything we did. And I don't want to be using a walker. And, they see other people going into a nursing home or whatever because they haven't taken care of themselves. So a lot of people see the light and say, this is just something I just need to do. So it goes on. But other people, they're like, I'm stronger in 6 months. I'm good. Thanks. And they leave. and I'm just like, good luck. I hope you keep doing stuff on your own, because time and age will catch up to us. There's an age-related muscle loss they call sarcopenia, just like there's age-related bone loss,
Yeah, forgot that.
osteopenia, which becomes osteoporosis. So those are always, nipping at our heels. And if we ignore them, they'll eventually get the better of us. So we really need to keep doing things as long as we want to stay mobile and living independently. We don't want to have to move into a nursing home ever, really. I mean, if we can be in our 90s and still get around the kitchen and cook and bathe ourselves and, all of that for ourselves, hey, you'd much rather be living in your own home than living in a nursing home. And it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot less expensive than a nursing home.
Well,
So,
thank you so much, Jeff. And I really hear about what you're doing differently because a lot of times when we think of fitness, we think of, like you said, losing weight or getting in shape, with muscles and so forth. But what you're doing is very different. You're just helping women and men a quality of life and that balance and staying in motion. It sounds like that you focus on. So you're kind of changing what it means to be fitness. It's like the well-being and the wellness, and it sounds like you're giving your clients the confidence that they need to be able to live a fulfilling life. Because I can't imagine, like you said, your client who said that she hadn't been able to, vacuum her home in years. So you're doing amazing things. And so, we are closing out our podcast for the day, but please, tell us where we can connect with you and reach you. And is there anything else you'd like to share as we close out our episode today?
so you can reach me. So my company is Silver Strong Fitness. So silver, thinking older folks, staying strong, Silver Strong Fitness. So you can reach me at info@silverstrong.fitness. There's no .com on the end. .fitness is now a domain. My website is silverstrong.fitness. www.silverstrong.fitness. So you can find me there on socials or my website, and you can reach out. My phone number is there and email. You can, if you go to any of those, I'd be glad to talk to folks about any questions or issues they're going through and just give a little advice. Like you had said, Michelle, don't think of fitness as just building muscles.
Right.
They say we want you to be functionally strong so you can function in your everyday life. So you're strong enough to do the things you want to do. Do you want to go out with, go on a walk or hike with your friends? Do you want to play pickleball with your friends, even if you're in your 70s or 80s? Do you want to be able to pick up your grandchildren, or get down on the floor and play with them if they're young and then be able to get back up from the floor? I mean, those are just things that we don't think about when we're younger, but those getting off of the sofa or getting off of the toilet without having to grab onto the end table or a struggle, just to make your day-to-day life so much more pleasant, without that. So thank you so much, Michelle, for the opportunity. I loved talking with you, and I'd love to hear from anybody that has any, questions they want, that I can maybe answer or some advice I can give them on health and fitness.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation today, and I know that I'm going to be seeing you again in the universe. And I also just want to thank you, the audience, our community, for joining us today's episode at 90210 Universe Podcast. And remember, this show is really about inspiring stories like Jeff. And just the insights and the incredible guests we have. I mean, Jeff was amazing in the story what he does. And I also want to thank our fellow hosts, Dr. Natalie Forrest, Dr. Barrett Matthews, and Aaron O'Dude, who are also hosts of the 90210 podcast. And please be sure to join us again for more exciting episodes. We would definitely love to hear from you. Feel free to share your comments and questions with us. And don't forget to share the show with others. You can find us and subscribe to us on Spotify and YouTube. And you can also go to our website for the latest episodes at 90210 Universe. So a special thank you again, Jeff. And thank you to our sponsor, 90210 Enterprise, for making this all possible. Until next time, take care and stay inspired. Thank you for joining us today in the 90210 Universe, a podcast dedicated to showcasing unique, creative, and diverse humans who we are, living their legacies, making a difference, and thereby being the change, supporting and inspiring others. Join our universe by subscribing to this podcast, follow us on social media, and contact us to join the 90210 Enterprise community to elevate your life and legacy today.